That snake is a very big snake. It's definitely one of the biggest anacondas ever filmed.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Whoa.
Earlier this year, scientists working in the Amazon rainforest discovered a whole new species of snake, rumored to be the biggest in the world. A team from the University of Queensland traveled to the Ecuadorian Amazon to search for the previously undocumented sneaky, following an invitation from the local people to observe these beings that were rumored to be, once again, the largest in existence, at least according to scientists. The team joined the hunters on a 10-day expedition to the Bameno region, before paddling down the river system to find several snakes lurking in the shallows, lying in wait for prey, at least according to Professor Brian Fry, a biologist who said all that in a statement. He said the size of these magnificent creatures was incredible. One female they encountered measured an astounding 20.7 feet long. What do you think about that? 20 feet long? Little nuts. The team also said they had heard anecdotal evidence that snakes of 24.6 feet and over 1,000 pounds had been spotted in the area. So technically they're classified as green anacondas, which are the world's heaviest snakes according to the UK's Natural History Museum, which noted that the heaviest individual ever recorded weighed 500 pounds, measured 27.7 feet long and 3.6 feet wide. So here's the thing, folks. My personal theory is that all big snake species are descendants of the Titanoboa because of their shared characteristics. So while there's another species, the reticulated python, that tends to be longer, about 20.5 feet in length, it is lighter. But experts studying the creatures discovered that the newly identified northern green anaconda species diverged from the southern green anaconda almost 10 million years ago, and they differ genetically by 5.5%. According to the experts, it's quite significant to put it in perspective, because humans differ from chimpanzees by only about 2%. So the team, out again, they're looking to compare the genetics of the green anaconda with other specimens elsewhere to assess them as an indicator species for the health of ecosystems, because as we all know, the Amazon is facing numerous threats, which, yes, I think that should be common knowledge, but still, you gotta remember, that's a thing. We're gonna travel back to 1959 for a moment. Colonel Remy van Lierde of the Belgian Royal Air Force was on helicopter patrol. He'd flown over 400 missions, so his eyes were trained to spot friend and foe below, and that skill set would help him with the ensuing ordeal over the Katanga region of the Congo, because what he saw shocked him and shocked his co-pilot, this gargantuan snake, and he was like, yeah, it's like 50 feet in length. This measurement would have easily made it the largest snake alive on Earth, dwarfing today's titans of the slithering world, like the green anaconda and the reticulated python. Experts are a little less convinced. They're like, is this Congo cryptid really on the frontiers of science, or was this just an illusion? Well, according to the witness's claim, which was detailed during a 1980 interview with British TV show Mysterious World, this creature reared its body about 10 feet into the air as the helicopter swooped over for another close pass, and he said, if I got any closer, it would have struck at me. It could have easily consumed a man. The beast's head was about 2 feet wide, which is enough to comfortably make lunch out of current snake heavyweights. The anaconda, the most voluminous of all serpents, can have a mid-body diameter of over a foot in the largest measured individuals in comparison. Still, resident species of the Congo never approach the magnitude of this creature. Like in Africa, the largest known snake is the African rock python, which is like 20 feet long in exceptional cases, which is a far cry from the Titanoboa. Okay, well, chew on this for a moment, folks. When you think about humans growing and shrinking over the years with evolution, doesn't sound as crazy in comparison, right? So Van Lierde did take one photo, a very single, grainy photo. It seems to depict what is probably a giant snake, looking massive in comparison to the nearby trees. Now, this ambiguous picture caused a lot of hubbub at the time. One Ivan Sanderson, a biologist and cryptozoology enthusiast, was like, yes, I don't think this is 50 feet long. I think it's 200 feet long, which is like, are you kidding me? In his eyes, the dark shapes were termite mounds, which could be about 26 feet tall and 50 feet wide. Time to dive into the history of the Titanoboa, everybody. So we're gonna go over to the lowland tropics of northern Colombia, about 60 miles from the Caribbean coast, where there's an empty, forbidding, seemingly endless horizon of dusty outback, stripped of vegetation and crisscrossed with dirt roads that all lead to an enormous pit 15 miles in circumference. This is one of the world's richest, most important fossil deposits, providing scientists with a unique capture of the geological moment when dinosaurs disappeared and a new environment was emerging. This place is probably the only window on a complete ancient tropical ecosystem anywhere in the world, at least according to experts. That's where you've got the plants, the animals, the everything, and you can't find it anywhere else in the tropics. 58 million years ago, This land was an immense swampy jungle where everything was hotter, wetter, and bigger than it is today. The trees had wider leaves. There was so much different that's evolved over the years. Temperatures probably hovered in the mid to high 80s if we're talking Fahrenheit. If we're talking Celsius, folks, you know, up there. Sweaty, sweaty, sweaty. Deep water from north-flowing rivers swirled around stands of palm trees. There was mud from the floodplain that periodically coated, covered, and compressed leaves that had fallen off. There was so much difference in ecosystem compared to now, and you really got to think about the species that could have existed back then, such as, I don't know, snakes and crocodiles and other things that are descended from dinosaurs that make me want to flee. There was 7-foot-long lungfish, which are 2 to 3 times the size of their modern Amazon cousins. But the lord of this jungle, the spectacular creature, a snake more than 40 feet long and weighing more than a ton. Sure, it looks something like a modern day boa constrictor, but it behaves like today's water-dwelling anaconda. This was the Titanoboa. The thickest part of its body would be nearly as high as a man's waist. It was the largest snake ever. And hey, if its astounding size alone wasn't enough to dazzle any fossil hunter, the fact of its existence might have implications for understanding the history of life on Earth, maybe even for anticipating the future. When you look at this, and you compare it to every other snake I've already talked about, are you seeing how 2 and 2 is making 4? Let's travel over to India for a moment. We'll talk about the Vasuki indicus. Lived about 47 million years ago in the state of Gujarat in India, and according to some researchers, it also could have been one of the largest snake species to ever have lived on Earth, possibly a relative of the Titanoboa. Now, remains of this giant snake were found in a mine. According to researchers, it could have been anywhere between 11 to 15 meters long, and it represented a distinct lineage that originated there. This species lived on Earth 47 million years ago, and it was named after a mythical snake. In a study, there was researchers that described 27 well-maintained vertebrae that they were able to dissect and study. Some were connected, so they did belong to an adult creature, and due to the measures of them and all the sciencey stuff, this thing had a very broad and cylindrical body. The measure stands between 37.5 and 62.7 millimeters in length and 62.4 to over 100 millimeters in width. So when you think about it and you do the math, which they did it, I didn't, this thing ranged from 10 to 15 meters. And even then, folks still aren't certain about the estimates, but they speculate that its large size made it a slow-moving ambush predator, something like an anaconda. Once again, folks, Titanoboas and Vasuki indicuses have been found in mines, which kind of offers us insights into Earth's past climate and ecosystems. There is a snake skin found on a picturesque riverbank in the northeast United States that belongs to Wessie. If you've ever heard of Wessie before, she's like Westbrook's Loch Ness monster. But instead of Loch Ness, she's kind of a Titanoboa. So these sightings began when a woman filed a report with the police department claiming to have seen a snake as large as a truck, with a head the size of a basketball. After that, there was a police officer patrolling that saw a large snake consuming a mammal. Somebody else found the molten skin of a 12-foot-long snake near the other 2 sightings. With each sighting, the mystery deepened and the local community was like, hey, this is our mascot now. And over the years, there's been more and more sightings, and I don't think I'm ever gonna visit there. And that's all for today, folks. I've been Alexa. See ya!